Was it something like this to shoot the film also? Like, can you go?
Very, very, very familiar. So I'm, I know the drill.
Anudi 11.
Sorry.
എന്റെ മമ്മിയാണ് അവളെ ലാസ്റ്റ് വിളിച്ചേക്കുന്നത്.
I'm Rohan from Hindustan Times.
Hi, Rohan.
I wish I'd been able to watch the film before talking to you, because then I could have gotten into the details of it. So, but we'll focus on the broader aspects of it. Just talk to me about how this started, how this idea came to you, and the process of filming. Actually, that's what I'm most interested in about.
So it all started with Fahad's phone call one day, saying, "Hey, we're going to try something out, an experimental film of sorts. It's mostly just like driven by three characters. I'm calling Darshana for the other one. One will be me. We'd like you to play one." So I was already going to say yes when he said that the director is going to be Mahesh Narayanan, who did Takeoff and Malik. And I loved Takeoff. Malik hasn't released yet. And I remember watching an interview of Mahesh Edens after Takeoff. Well, actually, after Malik was done with shoot and everything very recently. And I remember thinking that I wanted to work with him at some point. So it was already like an exciting team for me to work with. It was definitely going to be part of it. I didn't even know what the project was at that point. So then we got together for a meeting, which is also like a script reading session. And we read the script. Mahesh actually read the script out to us. And I remember thinking, oh my God, how are we going to shoot this with the lockdown and everything? And then he sort of took us through. So all of us had watched Searching before. So he sort of took us through the format of it. And he said it is inspired from Searching, but there is a certain amount of evolution to that format that you will see in See You Soon, which I didn't fully understand at that point. This whole virtual cinematography aspect of it, I only understood after he edited a few scenes and showed it back to us, I think 3 or 4 days into shoot. Until then, I was going quite blindly, but with the assurance of knowing that him as a director, he's very clear of what he wants. So that sort of takes a lot of weight away from you, because you know that he's not going to say yes to something until he's gotten what he wants. So you can actually stop thinking about it, which helped, because there were a million other things to think about with this sort of a shoot. I've never done anything like this before.
Were there like crew members at your place, or was there like a set, or how did it work?
So what we did is, we're all people who are already in Kochi. We moved into the same building, different apartments in the same building. And it's in those apartments that we shot these separate spaces that these characters are in. So we had a very, very minimal crew, I think of like 12 people max, maybe, everyone put together. And it's not even like everybody was around when we were shooting a scene. So very, very few people around. Mahesh was always, the director's always there, your co-actor's always there, sort of reading out the lines to you, but you can't see them obviously, because you're looking at the back of an iPhone, or you're looking at a desktop screen, or a laptop screen, or an iPad, or whatever. So that way it was very, very difficult. It felt like shooting a self-test for an audition, rather than shooting a movie, but with all the seriousness of doing a movie.
I was excited about the idea. Then I just wanted to shoot it. It didn't matter if it was a lockdown or not. I just had to take care of everyone's health. So primarily, what we did was we all moved into the same building. We quarantined for 2 weeks, and made sure everyone is safe and healthy. And then we started shooting. I believe there are some stories that needs to be told. Like you might have heard from Mahesh or read somewhere that Mahesh had initially pitched this idea to me 2 years back, actually. He shared a video with me of a girl crying out for help from Saudi Arabia. So the basic inspiration is that video. I saw it like 2 years back. It was very disturbing. It stayed with me. And eventually, when we started discussing a film that we would be able to sort of redesign on the edit table, we started discussing why not incorporate that story to this. And then, so basically it was just, everything was just falling in place at the right time. We just decided to shoot it. There was not a better time to shoot it. This was the right time.
did you guys, was it shot on like laptops and phones and stuff? Basically, then it wasn't done like in
Uh,
post production or something.
Yeah, so multiple mediums actually. It was shot on iPhones. A lot of conversations which happen on phone, video calls that happen on phones were all shot using back cameras of an iPhone. Then there's a Panasonic DSLR that was used, a GoPro that was used. Yeah, I think these three are the cameras that we used, if I remember correctly. So yeah, all the phone conversations were shot using an iPhone, and most of them are phone conversations. Then there's
Yeah.
also like a, like a laptop webcam, like the one that I'm using right now. For that, I think we used a DSLR, and GoPros were also used, but just like about a couple of times, I think. I actually don't even remember when the GoPro was used, but I know that we did use one at some point.
I mean, it's really cool to me that this kind of innovation is happening because, last, I think a week or two ago, I saw another film called Host, which
Mhm.
is this horror movie which was also made during the lockdown. It's set in the lockdown. It's like a demonic possession movie, which is also very cool. And I'm
Okay.
wondering if this is like because obviously searching exists and
Mm.
unfriended exists, and the
Yeah,
guy who
yeah.
made Unfriended has said that I'm just basically going to make screen movies from now on. Like this is
Right,
what I'm going to focus on.
right, right.
Do you think this is a a format of filmmaking that can pick up here in India as well, or is it just like a temporary thing until things get back to normal?
I definitely think it's an exciting new language. Now, I haven't watched Unfriended and Host. I think I read something. Is this the movie that was shot on Zoom?
Yeah, the Zoom one. It's about a seance. Basically,
Yeah,
six people get together.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
fantastic. You should check it
Yeah,
out.
I read an article about it, and just what was written in it seemed like mind blowing. So it's great. And the other day I watched a play from a group in Bombay called QTB. The play was called Every Brilliant Thing. I watched a play which was performed on stage earlier, adapted for Zoom, and I watched it on a Zoom call. These innovations are great, right? There are new languages sort of being born, and like the sort of language that searching put forward is the basis for what we've done with See You Soon. Now Mahesh Shetton, what he's done is he's taken it and he's added his own little element to it. So that's sort of, it's mutated into something else, or it's evolved into something else. As long as that sort of evolution keeps happening, I think we can keep expecting more and more interesting products to come out of these formats or these languages. But as long as you don't do something unique or something different with it as a format, I personally feel like it could not have that long a shelf life, because it would get, I'd be a little bored if I was watching, one movie after the other in this language, unless there was something
Yeah.
very different happening with it. Like, I'm very excited about Host because I can't imagine how a movie can be made on Zoom. So
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
it can get a little gimmicky, I feel, but we're at very, very early stages of this. And the cool thing about searching was that, what makes movies like this interesting and exciting is that the filmmaker is putting themselves in on the back foot. Basically,
Mm,
you're starting
mm,
off on the back foot because you don't have the tools that a regular filmmaker would have on a regular film.
yeah,
Now,
yeah.
obviously that extends also to actors because the actors
Mm,
don't have the same tools as well, so you're
yeah,
also
yeah,
starting on the back foot.
yeah.
uh, you want to talk to me about how what disadvantages you felt there are in this process, and kind of how you came up with ideas to kind of elevate the experience?
See, this is a kind of narrative where you don't see a lot of important aspect of the narrative, in the sense that you'll only see the character. My character's name is Kevin, so you'll only see me when my iMac is on.
Hmm.
When my iMac is off, you don't see anything about me. So it'll be like you'll have all the informations of the narrative, but you may not have seen it. You have to tell your backstory and a story which is a little ahead of you. So it's you need to find a balance there and then sort of play it. Like I said, this is an experimental film, so I am also guessing. I'll only know once it's out to the audience. So let's see.
So that's the thing, right? There are a lot of restrictions that come with it, and as long as you, um, so as a format itself, first what you have to do, I think, is find a story that goes beyond the format, that it doesn't become all about the language in which it was made, and it's still a movie is at the end of the day a story, and it stays about that. So for that matter, I feel like with See You Soon, it is already a narrative which calls for this sort of a making language. It calls for this sort of a format. There are three characters that we see, and they're in different parts of the world. Jimmy, his mother, his cousin Kevin, which is a character that Fahad's playing, they're all in different parts of the world. This is how they communicate. Through video calls is how they get in touch with each other. So the movie automatically lends itself to this format, and then within that you start finding the freedom. So similarly, as an actor, I felt like for me the toughest thing was not having a co-actor to just play with. All I get is the sound of the lines that Fahad is taking, or sound of the replies that Darshana's character is giving me, nothing else. So initially that felt very crippling, and then I realized, okay, fine, but that's all that this guy is getting as well. And then I realized, okay, a part of my, a huge part of my mind is also busy trying to figure out the technicalities of how to hold this phone or how to frame myself in this, because remember that I'm looking at the back of an iPhone, not the
Yeah.
screen. So I can't, when you're holding it up and you're on a video call, you have a good judgment of how you're framing it, because you're holding it to see the other person and you can see your face, right? So here I couldn't do that, and I realized that because as a person in life, I've generally always shied away from video calls and Zoom calls. I hate that sort of stuff. I hate phone calls even. So for me, like, texting is the beginning and the ending of it. So I realized very quickly that if I was someone who used it regularly, I would be a little more comfortable. Here, this was just taking too much of my mind space. So then I sat and thought, then that's the thing with a format like this. You have to come up with solutions as soon as possible by yourself, and you have the whole team sort of helping. So me, the cinematographer, Sabin, we tried something where you take a smaller iPhone, like an SE, you turn on the front cam of it, and you paste that onto the back of the bigger iPhone that you're using to shoot. So I get a fairly good idea because I can see my face on the smaller one. So I get a fairly good sense of how I'm framing it. So now I can stop thinking about that. And then
That's
later,
brilliant. Yeah.
yeah. So we tried this out, just like a little bit of blue tack and white tape, and it worked, right? So and we already have a sort of frame that is holding the bigger phone. So this sort of fit into that as well. And then later we figured, okay, now that I have this, when we're shooting the second half of the scene, now that my side of the conversation has been shot, the second actor can choose to, if he or she wants, play my part of the conversation on the smaller iPhone and then respond to it. So then we tried that out, and then it led to all sorts of complications, because there's a certain like audio delay, and like the mics are recording the sound that's coming from that also. So then we had to mute it and just like go with the expression. Then we decided, okay, this is too complicated, let's go with what we did earlier. So the whole process was filled with these like trial and error things, and that is super exciting. It's suddenly like a school project, right? So at that point, we're not thinking about where this movie is going to come out or the audience watching it, what are they going to think. Nothing. At that point, it's just, I've got to figure this out. I've got to somehow make this scene work,
Yeah,
within these restrictions. So that becomes
exactly.
very exciting.
This film, when you are making it, that a lot of your audience will be watching it on devices, on handheld devices. Now, did that factor into the way that the film was made? That, hey, it's not going to be, of course, not going to be watched on the big screen, but it's also not going to be watched on the television as much as it's going to be watched on a mobile phone. It has to play into the storytelling as well, right?
See, like I said, because it's an emotional film, we've done it in a way. The attempt is to make it work anywhere. You watch it anywhere, it should work. I mean, it's working on your iPhone because it's working on the television or on the screen. So, as an artist, what I've tried is I've approached this in a way that if I have to throw this in the theaters, it should work there. So, I'm assuming it will work everywhere, but there could be a more personal connect if you have to watch it sitting somewhere or if you're on the move, or I mean, it's a film like that. It's 1 hour 38 minutes. It's an easy watch, So let's see.
Were there ways in which, because if you're watching on your phone, um, you must also kind of assume that there's a lot of distraction happening on your phone, right? There's so many notifications.
Yeah, the assumption is that you don't, you I mean, see, basically you'll have breathing space for all that. The film is like that. You'll have breathing space for, you'll know when you watch it, especially at a point like this when people are staying away from their parents or children. There's a lot of communication that's happening over devices. Okay. So with this exercise, what we are trying is you can watch this. We've designed it in a way that you can watch it on your iPhone, you can watch it on your iPad, you can watch it on the go. So basically, the frames and the characters are designed in a way that when you look at your device and talk, it should feel like you're talking to the actor. You're interacting with the actor. The connect is going to be more personal. So I am assuming it's going to be more emotional. It's going to be more emotional than the same story narrated in a normal way.
Yeah, in recent years, especially thanks to the streaming platforms, etc., we've been exposed to a lot of regional films from across the country that I certainly would not have been able to watch. I remember a few years ago trying to find. So I went to a Catholic school, so I had a lot of Keralite friends, and we went and tried to find this film that we wanted to watch in the theaters, but it wasn't playing, or if it was playing without subtitles, so I couldn't watch it. But now I can, and I wanted to ask you, as a member of the film industry over there, and as someone who's been part of such important movies that have bridged this kind of divide, why do you think the best Indian films right now are being made in Kerala? Because that's, to me, that's how it is. Because this year, I mean, I watched Trance earlier this year, and I was blown away by that film. By just your performance, of course, and the ideas that it was tackling, and the way that it was made. And especially last year also, like, my favorite film of last year is Super Deluxe. Like, why do you think innovations are happening there that aren't really happening elsewhere?
No, I mean, I think it's a phase, right? I mean, when Lunchbox was made there, I don't think anything much was made here.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, so I think it's a phase. I mean, it's not like, there are only good films produced here. I think it's happening. See, I had said in one of my interviews that Pico is like one of the best Indian films I've seen in the recent past. So, I mean, there are so many brilliant movies made. There's Visarne from Tamil. Like, you're looking out to so many films. So, I'd like to think that, I mean, soon everything will be under the same roof, and there is no division like Malayalam films, or we all come under the same Indian film formats, and everyone enjoys every film. I mean, the films would start traveling outside the state or the respected language.
I mean, yeah, I would want to see that too. But then, just as a viewer, it's been like a regular thing, especially this year. Some of the best ones that I've watched, and you can sense that kind of storytelling freedom that happens. I think that's one of the reasons that maybe Hindi films aren't as bold in their ideas and the way that they've been made. I think that's kind of one of the reasons that I feel that I enjoy a lot of the Malayalam films that we make recently. So what's next for you, sir? Like, do you think this format is more of a necessity for this period, or do you think more films can be made in this format? Once
if I were to make See You Soon at a time when there is no lockdown, I would have just made it the way you just see it now. There would have been no difference. So, I mean, the idea was to do a film like this, regardless of when and where you do it, to do it like this. So, once you watch See You Soon, you'll know, what is it that we've tried out. And there will be another See You Soon next year, where you'll see what you didn't see in this version. What you've seen in this version is just what you see through the phones. But there is another side to the entire story from it, which is actually captured for like the normal shoots, not through the devices, but through you capture from different angles and
like a regular film,
like a regular film. Yes. So there'll be another version of See You Soon coming out, sometime next year. So we want to actually bridge this and see how it's like I said, it's new. You'll only know once you try it out, and once these two films are out, you'll know. Yeah.
I can't wait for that. So thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank you, Rohan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please watch the film and write about it.
100%. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you so much, man.